How much in late fees do you charge? Do you know if there's a rule about it, a law, or a convention that you should know about? Let's learn about late fees in today's video. I'm Jennifer Ruelens, landlord, educator, advocate, and broker at One Focus Property Management. And late fees are something that gets a lot of talk among real estate investors and landlords. So let's talk a little bit about your options and the rules that you need to be following. So the first thing to know is that in Pennsylvania, there's no specific rules around late fees. So there's no rules that say that there's a maximum or it needs to be set up in a certain way or that daily charges or one-time charges are better. There's no rules about that. But that doesn't mean you can just do whatever you want and ask that judges enforce it. So let's chat a little bit about what you can encounter if you make a late fee that a judge disagrees with. So what you need to know is there's different ways you can structure late fees, but judges are always going to look at the total amount that you've charged the tenant. So whether that's a daily charge or a one-time charge, they're really focused on how much interest or penalty the tenant is paying for having paid late. And when judges decide if this is reasonable or not, they often refer to the Pennsylvania usury law, USURY. Google it, and you can see what the usury laws are. So this isn't technically about rent late fees in a real estate transaction. Instead, this is just general kind of interest rate law that tells judges how to make judgments in cases like these. So I've sat in front of different judges, and sometimes they're okay with our late fees and other times they aren't. This is really an individual case-by-case kind of situation, which isn't ideal, understandably, but there are ways to structure your late fees to make sure that it does what you want, which is incentivize on-time payment, but is also enforceable in the courts. So let's talk about different ways you can do this and the pros and cons of each. The most common late fee I see in leases, especially older leases, is a daily late charge. So something like $5, $10, or $20 a day for every day that the rent is late after the first. That's an okay way to do this. However, I have seen judges in Pennsylvania courts deny the total late fee charge because it's just exorbitant when the tenant has been late for, say, 10 or 15 days. You can imagine on $1,000 worth of rent, if a tenant is 15 days late at $10 a day, that's $150 or 15% of the total rent amount. And you might not get a judge to actually enforce that late fee for you. So daily late fees are fine. However, they really do need to have a maximum because they're also kind of a pain in the process of administratively charging it. To have to go in every day and update the account is a little bit of a problem. So I don't advise daily late fees, but there's totally landlords and investors out there who love them and swear by them. So you could try that if you like. The other kind of late fees you can see are flat fee or one-time late fee charges. So what this means is that the landlord says, if the rent is received after a certain date, there's going to be a late fee applied, no matter how late it is. You can see those at $50 or $100, depending on the rent levels we're talking about. So those are very easy administratively to apply because you just simply wait until the rent is late, apply those charges, and then you're done. And you move on from there. So you don't have to keep adding day after day. Now, it's kind of hard when you use a flat fee, like say $100 or $50 to accommodate the different rent levels. So something other investors and landlords have done is gone to a percentage of rent that isn't paid. And you can either do this based on the full amount of rent. If it's not received in full, it's a percentage of the total rent amount. Or you can do it as a percentage of unpaid rent. So if the tenant paid all but say $100 of the rent, they would only pay the late fee on the missing $100. I typically use a percentage on unpaid rent because I like to incentivize getting as much rent paid on time as possible and giving the tenant the ability to control their late fee as much as they can within their own abilities. But that is something that you'll have to decide about what's right for you and selecting the amount or percentage that makes sense for your situation. Another way you can structure late fees is based on the actual costs that you have in collecting the rent. So in Pennsylvania, we post notices to quit. There could be expenses involved with that. You could instead decide to charge a notice posting fee in combination with a late fee, again, making sure you don't want to exceed certain maximums that judges aren't going to give you in court. We don't want to be abusive with our late fees, but we do want to be reimbursed for the cost that it takes to collect that rent when it's late. So you can do a combination of charges based on your actual costs and then sort of interest on the unpaid amount if you like. I wish I had better guidance for you today, but truly, this is the best guidance I can give you. You need to talk to your attorney about what would make sense for your situation, their understanding of the local court climate, and what you might expect. So I ask that you go get some more advice, talk to others in your area, see what they're doing, and see how it's working for them. Making these videos is so fun, and I love bringing you advice and information you can't get elsewhere. Please let me know if you enjoy this. Please give us a subscribe, a like, or even a comment on this video. Tell me what you want to learn about next.